this chapter on trichology, the study of hair, we'll look at the biological structure of hair. We will cover hair theory, hair care, and draping, shampooing, and scalp massage. In this portion of the chapter, we will look at some of the theory behind hair. We say something is alive when it can grow or respond to stimulation. If you cut off a flower or leaf of a plant, it will eventually die. That's because the flower or a leaf is alive. But if you cut off a strand of hair, it stays the same. It does not die because the strand of hair is not alive. Only the cells of the hair bulb are alive. To understand hair growth, you need to know how the hair bulb is formed. The hair follicle is formed from a cluster of cells in the upper layer of skin. To get nourishment, these cells work their way down and pull the upper layer with them to create a pocket called the root sheath. The hair grows out of this root sheath or pocket. The shape of the root sheath determines the characteristics of the hair. The follicle in straight or wavy hair is typically round or oval. The follicle that produces curly and tightly curled hair has a flattened elliptical shape. These primitive hair germ cells continue downward and join other dermal cells to form what is called the dermal papilla. The papilla is filled with capillaries that supply nourishment to the cells around it, called germinal matrix cells. These germinal matrix cells produce the cells that ultimately keratinize or harden to form the three major layers of the hair. The cuticle is the outer covering of the hair shaft. The cortex is the inner layer of the hair fiber. And the medulla is the center of the hair shaft. Attached to the side of the root sheath are the sebaceous or oil glands. These produce sebum, which is sent up through the hair follicles to the surface of the skin. Sebum mixes with the body's perspiration to form the acid mantle, which protects the cuticle and maintains the acid balance of hair and skin. The Erector Pili muscle comes from the cells in the dermis that attach to the follicle just below the sebaceous gland. This is the goosebumps muscle that causes hair to stand on end when you are scared or cold. Keratinization is the process in which cells change shape, dry out, and form keratin protein. At this stage, the cells that form the hair fiber or strand are no longer alive. Hair is made up primarily of protein, and, as you know, protein is made from the linking together of amino acids. The coiling and twisting of these chains are what give hair the ability to stretch like a spring without breaking. There are 3 stages of hair growth. The duration of each stage is determined by your genes. First is the anagen, or active growing stage. In this stage, each hair bulb has an attached root sheath. This stage lasts from 2 to 6 years. Second is the catagen stage, which is a brief transitional stage when all cell division stops. This stage lasts only a few months. The third stage is the telogen, or resting stage, when each hair bulb has no attached root sheath and the hair falls out. Eventually, cell division is again stimulated, producing new hair, and the growth cycle starts again. It is important to remember that illness or lack of necessary vitamins can affect hair growth. Disease and medication can also affect hair growth by either stimulating the onset of the telogen phase or by causing the production of abnormal, brittle hairs. There are 3 factors that influence the behavior of hair: heredity, environment, and products or appliances. Heredity refers to the genes a person inherits from his or her parents. Environment or weather includes such conditions as humidity, which can leave hair limp or frizzy. The third influencing factor is the products and appliances used on the hair. The relationship of the cuticle to the cortex also has a great influence on hair behavior. As you know, the cuticle is the protective part of the hair shaft, and it is made up of a harder protein than the soft, elastic cortex or inside of the hair shaft. For instance, If a particular hair is 90% cortex and 10% cuticle, it will behave like the cortex and have more elasticity and the ability to be molded and reshaped. But if the cuticle is 40% and the cortex is 60%, then the hair will behave more like the cuticle and be more resistant to perms, relaxers, or holding a set. Hair color is determined by a pigment found in the cortex called melanin. There are two types of melanin that create the large variety of hair colors. Eumelanin, which is a dark brown-black pigment, and pheomelanin, which is a red-colored pigment sometimes referred to as red-yellow. How much melanin and where it is distributed determines final hair color. Redheads have a greater concentration of pheomelanin. Dark-haired people have greater concentrations of eumelanin in their hair, and it can be found in the cuticle layer. On the other hand, people with lighter hair have a lower concentration of melanin. If hair contains more pheomelanin, it will appear as a warm color. If hair has more eumelanin, it will appear as a cool color. The combination of these two pigments produces the many natural hair colors we see.